Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today I'm talking about the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once is a movie about a woman who has a meeting with the IRS while also welcoming her father into town, I think for the first time from China. And she has to deal with maybe getting a divorce and a bunch of other things. And on top of all of that, she also finds out that there's a multiverse and she has to save it. So this movie is directed by the directing team of Daniels, which is two guys, both named Dan or Daniels, Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. This is their second movie together. The one they did before this was Swiss Army Man. So as far as what I liked about the movie, overall, I thought the cast was really great. Michelle Yeoh in this, who was, of course, in Crouching Tiger and Crazy Rich Asians, plays Evelyn, the main character. She's 59 years old in real life, and she did a great job, I think, with all the physical stuff, the physicality, the comedy. She plays a bunch of different roles here. I assume I know it's early in the year, but I would assume she's got to get nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress here because her performance is great. It's probably the best performance of her career. Huy Quan, of course, who played Short Round in Indiana Jones, The Temple of Doom, and Data in Goonies, is in this as Waymond, her husband. This is his first major role in 20 years, and he's amazing in this. He's probably my favorite character in the movie. He's just so nice and sweet and heartwarming most of the time when he's his main character. And then he sort of switches into, this other kind of badass character that's going around and, fighting and doing, and again, he's doing all his own fighting. Mostly he's kind of done background kind of stuff in movies and fight choreography and stuff like that. So he's great in this. James Hong is in this. James Hong, of course, I know him mostly as Lo Pan in Big Trouble in Little China, but he's also one of the voices in Kung Fu Panda, and he's literally, I think, has 450 roles on his IMDb. So the guy is very busy. I'm sure you know him if you've seen him. Stephanie Sue plays the daughter in this, Joy or Jobu. And of course, she was in Mrs. Maisel, I think the third season of that. And she's great in this as well. Jamie Lee Curtis, I think this is probably the best performance of her career, at least the best that I've seen. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if she got a supporting actress nomination. I think if the Oscars were tomorrow, this movie would win Best Picture, in my opinion. So giving it away already, I really like this movie a lot. I thought also Tally Metal as Joy's girlfriend Becky did a great job. The action in this is really well handled. There's a lot of sort of the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of wuxin, I think it's called, style of fighting. Then there's also the kind of Jackie Chan style of fighting. Apparently, when they first wrote this movie, they had Jackie Chan in mind, and then they decided to instead change it to having a female character in the lead, which I think actually works better and it makes it a better, more interesting story. The humor in this works great. It's weird and funny. It's very like Hitchhiker's Galaxy, but there's also kind of a crudeness to it. Things like dildos and butt plugs play somewhat significant parts in the movie. It is a weird movie. It's not for everyone. Obviously, stuff like that might be a bit much for some people, but I loved it, thought it was great. I think the exposition is handled really well. That mostly falls on Huy Quan to do it, and he does it. He does a good job of it. They do it in a very interesting kind of entertaining way that doesn't seem too obvious. The sound mixing in this movie is great. At some point, I thought somebody had a dog in the theater, and they didn't. It was just they were piping out of that speaker, and they would do stuff like that, where they would bounce sounds around. And it was a really cool effect. The music in this was really good. I loved the story overall. There's a lot of film references to Asian cinema, to Matrix, to just a ton of movies. It's really, in some ways, almost like a cinema paradiso, kind of a love letter to film kind of thing. There's a lot of important themes in here: love, marriage, parenthood, and motherhood specifically. And they all resonated really well with me, even though I'm not married and I don't have any kids and I don't plan on it. I really like how she ends up defeating the attackers in the end by sort of learning from her husband and essentially giving them what they really want. And I like the way that she has to sort of reconcile herself in every universe to sort of defeat or to save the multiverse. As far as what I disliked about this movie, no notes, really, very little. It's maybe a little too long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I guess if I were really saying, I maybe didn't quite understand how she was able to figure out how to tap into the other Bonnie's in the multiverse exactly, and maybe that's just something that I missed. But other than that, yeah, it's hard to criticize this movie because even anything that they do, it's so stylized and so weird. That, like, say for example, there's a raccoon in this. They do this sort of Ratatouille thing, but with a raccoon, and it's hilarious and weird. And the raccoon looks bad and fake, but it doesn't matter because the movie is so weird that the bad raccoon is the least of your worries at that point. So yeah, like I said, this is directed by Daniels. This is their second movie after Swiss Army Man. I really like Swiss Army Man. It again is very weird, but this movie is even weirder. I think Daniel Schneider, did another movie in between this that I haven't seen though. He also plays the district manager in this movie, the guy who's kind of into the BDSM kind of Dom whatever stuff. Which as soon as I saw him, I was like, I bet you that's the director. I could just tell. And he also actually plays a lot of the apes. There's a scene where they show the apes with the big hot dog fingers, like you see behind me here. And he apparently played a lot of those apes. The other Dan Kwan is actually the mugger who mugs Evelyn at the beginning, which creates the kung fu master character. And he's also in there quickly. You see his face kind of get melted away. There's a lot of crude humor in here. This was produced by the Russos, who, of course, before this did a lot of the Marvel movies, including Endgame. And Marvel movies and Doctor Strange are getting into a multiverse of their own. And I'm curious to see how they do it, because I think this movie's version of a multiverse was really interesting. And as far as I'm concerned right now, Doctor Strange is behind the eight ball. They've got something to prove here. So I'm curious to see what they do. I have a feeling I will probably like this more than Doctor Strange, but I am curious to see how that goes. It reminds me a little bit of, like I said, the humor, a bit of the Hitchhiker's Galaxy, Guide to the Galaxy. There's elements of like the Matrix in here. There's a little bit of like the Gwyneth Paltrow movie, Sliding Doors. There's a bit of like Rick and Morty kind of humor, especially with like the kind of crude humor. Being John Malkovich is something I thought of while watching this. Michelle Gondry's movies, which I think even the Daniels have acknowledged. Like I said, Jackie Chan was originally supposed to be the guy in this, and they decided to make it a woman. I think the story works better that way because it's about a lot of things. It's about their marriage, and it's about love, and it's about the way you treat people and treating people with kindness. But it's also really, I think most importantly, it's about the relationship of a mother and a daughter. It's also maybe about just ADHD and depression and a bunch of other things. But I don't know, the interactions and the relationships women have with their daughters and mothers and daughters have has always been really interesting to me. It's something that, of course, I can't really experience, but it is weird and complicated. And I think this movie, written and directed by two guys, does a pretty good job of it. Again, I'm a guy, though. Who knows? Who knows what I do? They make a reference to the song Absolutely Story of a Girl by 9 Days. And it's the funniest thing to me because when he first says it, I'm like, wait a minute, I know that. That's from that song. And then the song's playing in my head, and then sure enough, they play a couple different versions of the song, like not the original, I don't think, but slowed down or acoustic or orchestral kind of versions of the song. And it's a weird song. It's a song I always kind of liked, like a weird little one-hit wonder kind of thing from the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, it's great. And it's so funny that they used it. They use a lot of real life footage in here. When they show the Kung Fu kind of version of Michelle Yeoh, they actually just use footage of her on the red carpet for Crazy Rich Asians, which I thought was funny. Randy Newman, when they're doing the Ratatouille, Raccoon Tooie thing, there's a song that, like, when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, it's like a Randy Newman song. That's pretty funny. It's a good job. They did a good job. No, it was actually just Randy Newman. They really got him to do it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, the movie covers a lot of different things, and it really, I feel like even though this movie is about a woman in her 50s who's dealing with kids and divorce and her parents, I feel like I was able to relate to this character more than most characters that I've seen in movies. I think the fact that she wanted to be a singer and a writer and a teacher and everything else is something that any kind of failed or I don't know what, any kind of person who, I think all of us have lives where we kind of think about, what if I would have done something differently? What if I would have done this? And yeah, it's really interesting. And I really, really enjoyed it. So for me, I think this movie is as close to perfect as it gets. And I think I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10. It's absolute perfect movie, in my opinion. I mean, sure, a lot of other people won't like it as much. I'm sure a lot of people think it is weird. I heard somebody during the screening say either this is the worst movie I've ever seen or this is the weirdest movie I've ever seen. And I would agree, this is a very, very weird movie, but not even like a gross way too much. It's more just like a trippy, weird, acid trip, crazy movie. But it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. and it seems like everyone else is liking it as well. So I really hope it gets some attention for everything it does. If you saw the movie, tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night, and I will see you here again next week.